I only realized that my family was not normal when my kindergarten classmate pointed out that I had no mother because she never came once to pick me up from school.
My parents got divorced when I was 6. I wasn't shocked because things were already so bad.
Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and hear my mom wailing in the bathroom.
I didn't tell anyone I had divorced parents because it's such a taboo thing to talk about in Singapore, let alone in church.
So I became really good at pretending my family was perfect. I also lived with the mindset that I would never be able to find love. And even if I do marry someone one day, my marriage will not last.
I used to think the same way. I see how my parents are divorced. And then when I was in primary school, when my mom came back from studying in England, she met this guy there. My mom told me that they were dating and that they were planning to get married. But then my mom told me that he decided to call it off after 7 years. So that was when I felt that oh, if my mom doesn't have a shot 2 times in a row, right, then it'll probably end up in the same way for me. Yeah.
I think growing up, my family is not really the ideal family as well. I think over the years, I have seen my family improve. No doubt we went through a lot of phases of imperfection. I mean, my family is not perfect right now, but I think through knowing God, through being in the church, I kind of accept firstly that I'm not perfect, and thus no one on earth is also perfect. I think for me, it's really able to see God through it, see how God was willing to love someone like me, and thus me being able to love my family situation as well.
In 2018, my mom decided to move out. I was shocked because I only had a few days' notice.
I was left alone to handle my dad finding out, knowing that I would have to be the emotional pillar for him and my brother, while still dealing with my own emotions.
I also felt like I had failed. I had taken it upon myself to try to mediate between my parents, and it didn't work out.
I found myself asking why. Did I not try hard enough? Should I have been more insistent that they go for counseling? What else could I have done? The divorce was finalized in late 2019, 1 year later.
My cell group in church was a great source of support. Nobody really had a good solution for what I was going through, but their willingness to journey with me assured me that I wasn't alone.
My ministry leader also offered a listening ear as I shared about my struggles at home. In the most intense few months, he continued our regular meetups, but without any ministry agenda.
I really appreciated that, as it made me feel valued as a person, and not only for the skills I bring in serving the church.
It sucks that kids my age have to mediate between the adults in the family. It doesn't help that during Chinese New Year's, then my grandma she'll send me to my dad's place to 拜年. And then when she asked me if my dad is home, and I say that oh no, he's still in jail, and then she'll get very angry, very disappointed, and she'll start lashing out. And I feel like that's how I start my year, every year, every new year. And I think sometimes, I think it just feels like you failed your parents and you have to take the responsibility to fix everything.
I think reading this particular story, it gives me the impression that this person is a little older than the first story. And I think that divorce hits people at different ages in a very different way. Sometimes the older you get, it means that you've had more years of experiencing what a complete family looks like, or a regular family looks like. And when that is cruelly snatched away from you or ripped apart from your life, you may even struggle to cope even more.
What struck me about this was that the church saw this person as more than what he could bring to the table, in growing the church, but that he was also a person with needs, and that they were so eager to meet his needs in just being there for him and being present. If a friend tells me about their parents' divorce, I think I would like to give them a hug, because I think it's so difficult to just not pretend that everything's okay. The fallout began when I was 8 or 9 and was signed into reality when I was 14.
It made a lot of sense to me, even when I was a child, because they clearly weren't happy.
Being a child caught in between divorced parents and insensitive relatives, there was a lot to prove, both for myself, that I was okay, and for the sake of my parents' face, that we were okay.
And since I'm the only child, most of the time I feel like I'm stuck in my own island and it sucks.
Currently, I attend the same church with my mother and stepfather. Sometimes I wonder how other members look at them or think about them. Do they see them as lesser people because they've remarried?
Like they've somehow missed God's standard, unlike the model couples that were praised and celebrated in church. But I recognize that I wonder if others think this way only because there is a propensity for me to judge likewise.
You hear things in church about other people, their family background, their history, and sometimes that changes the way you see them.
But that doesn't mean that we have to think of others any lesser because of what they've been through. We can all do better, myself included, in humility. To consider others better than ourselves, like Paul reminded the Philippians.
I think what really was shining through and beaming at me was at this entry was how the fear of judgment was so real. The fear of judgment of whether they have missed God's standard or whether they have fallen short. There's this standard that we have to live up to as Christians, but to really speak the truth in love is so much more important than casting judgment. Love speaks slowly, carefully, and in very calculated words. It's considerate to the feelings and responses of others, and I think most importantly, love seeks to bring unity instead of strife.
For a child who comes from a divorced family or a single-parent family, the church could potentially be one of the best things that ever happened to him. And in my case, coming from a non-Christian background into a Christian background, the church became the family that I read about in the Bible that I always wish I had. But here's the thing, I don't think everybody in the church knows how to deal with this. So I think that as much as we are asking the church to exercise extra grace, extra patience to those who come from single-parent families, at the same time, I would also want to appeal to those who are in a similar situation with me, that we also have to give grace and patience to the other members in church who do not know how to relate to us.
My parents got divorced when I was 3. Back then I was so young and I didn't understand anything.
I only realized that my family was not normal when my kindergarten classmate pointed out that I had no mother because she never came once to pick me up from school.
I began cooping many negative emotions within me. Sometimes I got so angry over a small matter that I would lash out and question my parents why they had me when they weren't ready to be parents.
It's been 6 years since I became a Christian. Right now, I'm trying to come to terms with God on why He placed me in this family.
My uncle, who is also Christian, helped me to understand that it's not my job to fix what's broken. Instead, I just have to love and forgive.
God has really changed me in how I view my family. I'm glad that my church friend lent me a listening ear, even though it can be hard for me to explain my family history and for them to understand what I'm going through.
I don't know how easy actually it is to love and forgive. Yeah, it sounds like what we are supposed to do, right? But it is not. It's not so simple to just love and forgive, because sometimes we don't even know what it's like to be loved and to be forgiven. So how do you give something that you don't have? So I don't know. It's been 6 years since this person became a Christian, but I just want to reach out to that person right now and say it's only been 6 years, and I want to just encourage that person to take the time to understand love, to understand forgiveness, and that while your family is not normal, I think your family can be redeemed.
I'm so thankful that this person found Christ, and I'm so thankful that there are people in church who are willing to be there, to be present in another person's suffering.
I might not personally understand what you're going through, but hey, we are here for you, and we would like to just be here with you and hopefully go through with you through the struggles, through the valleys, and hopefully one day, we can walk out of it together.
When I first went to church, I got stared at because it was quite obvious I wasn't straight.
If only I was straight, then would I be truly loved, accepted, and wanted?
If people would talk about it and people would have a safe space to be open and to have open conversations, I think there would be a lot more growth and a lot less shame.